Life is just a big learning experience.
Yeah.
I've got two daughters and parenting them. There is no book we can open, right? that says, hey, here's the parenting manual and just read through that and you will be the perfect parent. That doesn't happen. So I think that's just whether you're coaching or you're a client of coaching or whatever it is in life, just realize like mistakes, setbacks, whatever you want to call them, like that's just going to be natural. And the key is, can we learn something from it? Doesn't mean that we won't repeat that mistake in a different way, but can we learn something from it? Can we give ourselves grace
Yeah.
and move forward? Because without grace, we're stuck. We're stuck, right?
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Welcome to the Coachability Code podcast. This is your host, Jordan Ring. Coaches, you ready to be coached? Let's go. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Really excited for this episode with DonJay Rice. DonJay, if you could introduce yourself, that'd be great. Also, thank you so much for being here. Super appreciate you.
Yeah. Glad to be here too, Jordan. I'm DonJay Rice. I'm a financial behavior coach with a focus in grief and trauma. Wow. Before that, I was a financial advisor for 28 years, also working with financial behaviors then, a certified life coach, Enneagram coach, certified trauma coach. That's enough of titles.
Yeah.
I love anything artwork. I love just art and experimenting with things, anything art from that standpoint. Love music and board games, hanging out with friends, and then I'm also involved with a couple ministries working in domestic abuse and things of that nature. So that's me. Yeah.
Amazing. Love it. So we'll dive into what you do a little bit more with some more questions. But first of all, I wanted to ask you a couple icebreaker questions.
Okay,
If
sure.
if you can name them, it's fine. If you don't have a favorite, it's fine. But if you have a favorite book and a favorite movie, and
Oh,
also
wow.
if you don't mind sharing a weird thing about you that you're comfortable sharing.
Okay. Yeah. So favorite book. Oh my. I've got too many, I guess, is my thing. So favorite book. I love Wooden by John Wooden. I think it's just a great book with a lot of common sense things in it, a lot of things about values and character. So I love Wooden. Grace is Greater by Kyle Idleman as a favorite book of mine. Genius of Generosity by Chip Ingram. I just love that book. I think it speaks a lot about a way to fix a lot of our money behaviors or a part of a solution. And then Money Mammoth.
Oh,
Money
I love the
Mammoth is,
title.
yeah. And so that's by Dr. Ed Horwitz and Dr. Ted and Brad Klons. And so, yeah, and I've got others, but you only have a limited time. But those are probably the ones that come to mind that, yeah. Oh, and favorite movie. Sorry, I
Yep.
got so much on books. Favorite movie, definitely Shawshank Redemption, without a doubt.
Good one.
Weird thing about me. So here's a weird thing about me. So I love music and I love the words. I love how they get put together to really have deeper meaning. So it is not uncommon for me to hear a song and connect with the words. And I will listen to that song, no joke, like back to back, like play it, rewind it 100 times consecutive. That's probably pretty weird, but in my world, it's not weird. I just feel like doing that, I can just feel the words and let them penetrate into my soul. So that's me. That's the weird thing.
Now, I love that and definitely can relate to that. If there's a song that is really like hitting those chords and like my heart and soul, it's like I don't want to listen to anything else, right? Okay, so the next question here is someone asked you and comes up to you and says, "Hey, Donjay, what do you do?" How do you answer that
Yeah,
question?
yeah. So for me, I try to keep it short. And so I just say I'm a financial behavior coach who helps you fix your broken record.
I like that a lot. What are some typical follow-up questions that people ask?
Yeah.
And then even if you want to say what the questions you like, and then sometimes the questions that are like, okay, come on. That's
yeah.
not really
So
helpful. So
so usually when you say you're a financial behavior coach, sometimes people will say, "Oh, I didn't know that was really a thing," or they'll say, "Oh, great, you need to talk to my brother." We've always got someone else who's got the financial behavior issue. Or they'll say, "What do you mean by a broken record?" And so Fortunately for me, LPs have come back in style. And so broken record, right, is that thing that record that's the needle gets stuck because of a scratch. And so we're repeating the same phrase in
Hmm.
that song over and over and over and again. And so that happens in our money behaviors. I see that in my clients often where maybe we spent a little bit on the credit card and then we worked ourselves out of that credit card debt and now we're back in it. And the next time we're back in it bigger, and the next time we're back in it bigger. And so, kind of like that first thing on the broken record analogy, is the first time you hear that the song has repeated, you might not even notice it. And then the third, fourth, fifth time that it's caught in that groove, then it becomes annoying and you can't stand it. And that's typically when clients will come to me as like, hey, I thought I might have had a credit card issue and now it's like, no, I really need to work on this thing. Or it might be for penny pinching, financially enabling children, avoiding money, couples fighting about money. I do individual as well as couples coaching. So yeah, so that's kind of the broken record that we all do in our behaviors of some degree.
So you talked
Yeah.
about this a little bit, but what is the primary reason someone seeks out your services?
So people will come to me, they're usually stuck on a money
Okay.
behavior, spending, penny pinching, financial enabling, avoiding money, stuck on a money emotion. So money might give them a lot of anxiety or fear, anger, jealousy, money guilt for having maybe an
Hmm.
inheritance or being rich or something of that nature. Or they're stuck on a question mark. They know that whenever it comes to money, something's off and they just can't put their finger on it. So I would say the question mark, the money emotion, money behavior. A behavior coach is different than, say, like a typical money coach. Money coach might be more on just the education side. Hey, Jordan, I'm going to help
Mm-hmm.
you learn to budget, and so I might get you with a budgeting app, and we're going to go through that and create a budget and help you learn how to start saving and the value of that. And I might get into that with my clients, but that's not the primary objective. The primary objective is rewiring the behavior.
Thinking about some of your best and most, like, let's say your favorite clients and students and the people that you've helped,
Okay.
what if you have a story there, that'd be helpful. But what are their, like, what separates them? What are some of the characteristics that they have that just make it so, like, oh man, like you just really love working with them?
Yeah, I would say if I had to say my best student, and so I always change a little bit when I talk about students, I change a little bit of the narrative so that no one says, "Oh, I know who that is," right? If they're listening
Perfect.
in.
Yeah,
But
that's great.
but yeah, I would say my best student was a lady who came to me, and she had been sex trafficked as a child. And so she actually watched the money exchange hands between the clients, for lack of a better term, and her
Wow. Yeah.
handler. Yeah, so some pretty
Wow.
deep stuff there. And this sent her this subconscious messages that money was evil, it was dirty, and she should have nothing to do with it. And so, of course, she didn't know that right away. She just came to me and said, I just avoid money. I run from it. Money conversations, money decisions, a budget, anything to do with money just made her anxious and angry.
Yeah.
But the thing that got deeper with that is before she had been taken and sex trafficked as a child, she had been taught as a child to suppress her emotions and that it was bad to speak up for what you wanted and needed. So all of this was just bottled up inside of her in this big twisted knot. And we had a lot of work to do. And what made her really such a great client was she was so tired of the way she'd been living that it drove her to be relentless. So she was such a hard worker in her healing journey. She was so relentless in getting toward where she wanted to be, her goal. And so it was just such an honor to be a part of that too, with such a story too.
Yeah, I mean, I love hearing that. And it's so interesting because I've done many of these calls and there's always something new that pops up that always fascinates me. And that relentless nature of a student we haven't talked about that yet, as far as I remember on any of the other episodes we've done. And I just think that is such an interesting and powerful testament to someone who is going to be coached in any industry or any area to have that relentless nature. So I love that. I love hearing that.
Yeah, I think we all have to realize if we're going into coaching as a client, there's going to be work that's going to be required on our part. And some of those
Yeah.
conversations, some of that homework, it's going to be tough, right? And so we have to keep as a client focused on the goal, focused on where we want to be. And that doesn't mean that, not every day is a superstar day, right? But we still have to be relentless in that, like, I want this and I'm going to get this. So yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious with her and then for other clients as well, where are there normally breakthrough like big moments then? Or is have you has your experience been that more relentless kind of improvement and growth over time? I'm just curious if there have been like the light bulb moments or has it been mostly that relentless growth?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for a lot of my clients, relentless just isn't the thing in our first appointment, they're on fire and go, go, go.
Yeah.
I think they come feeling nervous, doubt, all these things, right? Wondering how it's all going to work out. And what I do is through a period of discovery and curiosity and helping the client really become curious about themselves, they start to piece things together and they start to say, wow, well, this is the behavior I have. And I can see how this is rooted in maybe some of my past experiences, things I've been told about money or not told about money. It might be a role I've taken. It could be my Enneagram and all of these things as we start to do discovery. What I see usually is there's this phase in which they start to put the pieces together. And they'll come to
Hmm.
me on the next meeting and they'll be like, hey, I just realized, like, I know we had this homework like 2 appointments ago, but I want to add something to it. And they come fired up and they're like, oh, I see where we're going. I see how this is working. And I think that's really when that passion and that relentlessness takes over inside of them.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. That's such an interesting piece of that. And yeah, and I just relate so much to that. Relate and also just appreciate people that have that relentless nature about them and then that can access it when they need to.
Sure.
So let's thinking about have you had a situation where you've worked with someone and you haven't been able to help them? And I'll say I asked that question because I have in people that I've worked with. I've had people that, for whatever reason, the fit wasn't great, and I had to, for lack of a better word, fire the client.
Sure.
And it hurt me at the time that I wasn't able to help. But we're not a fit for everyone. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm curious if what your experience with that has been, and has there been a time, and how did you kind of navigate that?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think here of a good example here for you. So yeah, we have those times where we're just not a fit, and I like to have a network of other coaches,
Hmm.
financial coaches, financial therapists that if they're like, hey, it's DonJay, it's not working, right? I can refer them on. I think about an example. I had a man that came to me and he was having a lot of financial anxiety. And as we started working with that, he recognized also that he was financially enabling his children. And
Mm.
so he wanted to work on both of those things, both kind of weave together just a little bit. But so we worked on the financial anxiety piece. We had really great success on that. And then it turned to where we really needed to focus on the financial enabling of his children. And he said, "Look, I don't want to do that. Oh,
Yeah.
we're done here. We're done here." And he just didn't have the strength to tackle the financial enabling at that time. And so we left the door open of like, "Hey, later on, things change. Come on back.
Yep.
We'll work on that. Or if you want, at a later date, if you want some other names of people that I would recommend that can help you in that area as well, or just some things to read, some things to consider, come on back. So I try never to shut the door in any respect from that. But yeah, that's one example I can think of where like I wish it would have turned out different, right? I wish we would have tackled the financial enabling piece, but perhaps later he will. And we just have to realize as coaches, right? We get to know our clients very well, but we will never know them as well as they know themselves. And they know what they
Yeah.
have strength for, they know what they have bandwidth for, they know other things on their plate, and we just have to respect that.
Yeah, and I think that's something I've learned as a coach is what you're saying there is just respecting where people are at and yeah, meeting them where they're at too and helping them
Absolutely.
as much as we can, but at the same time not taking an overabundance of responsibility for their success. And I think that's where I've
Oh
had a
yeah.
hard time, and I know other coaches too of drawing the line between I really want to help you and okay, maybe this isn't a great fit, or maybe they're not as invested as me, and then that's the time to take a step back. So, okay, let's see what questions I can ask and what can be done to bridge that gap instead of I guess over pushing or being too much a part of just the solution myself. Realizing that's not the nature of a coach. The nature of a coach is to walk alongside someone. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I think about that. I think I have a couple sayings, and that is that a good coach helps the client discover what's already inside of them. And
mm-hmm,
so
mm-hmm,
I really think of my clients and I as co-creating partners in that. And I like to think about, just like we talked about that one gentleman, I have this saying, did I leave the client better than I found them? And so if
mm.
that answer is yes, then there was progress made. We would have liked to maybe had more done or anything like that, but there was progress made. And so we need to celebrate and recognize any and all progress.
I love that so much. That's so good. Thinking about the word coachable itself, what does that mean to you?
Boy. For me, that
Loaded
means
question.
yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay. I would say for me, that means that someone's coachable if they're willing to face the unknown, they're willing to be
Mm,
curious about themselves, and a biggie is they're willing to admit that they have shame. And we all have shame. If you got a heartbeat, you got a pulse, you got shame. You may not realize that, but
hmm.
we all do. I have shame, Jordan. You have shame in certain areas of your life. And the
Yep.
key is to recognize that and expose it, right? And that's where shame
Mm,
loses its power. And so for me, for someone to be coachable, it's them recognizing that curiosity and shame are the biggies. Without curiosity, we can't learn about ourselves. We can't understand ourselves at a deeper level. So that unknown stays hidden, and you cannot work on what you can't see. And with shame, it's also hiding something, and we can't heal what stays hidden. So I would say unknown, curiosity, shame. If we're able to work in those three areas, that person's coachable. Absolutely.
yeah, and I just feel like everything you just said there is so it just crosses all boundaries and all areas of coaching for
Yes.
me and thinking about that. 'Cause, okay, you're very much on like the behavior side of things as a financial behavior coach. Like it's very much there, but I feel like it's not that much different when you think of what the sales coach does or what a business coach does or what a book coach does. I feel like there's so much, and that's something I never would have said getting into book coaching specifically, that it could cross the gaps there. Do you know what I mean? Like that it could be so
Sure.
similar
Yeah.
to what you do. Like I never would have said that, but I'm seeing so many similarities now that it's kind of eye-opening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's ironic how things are so connected and intertwined, and overlap. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so with that, what areas have you been coached yourself, if any? And then I'm curious with that, if you have, how has that helped you to become a better coach in what you do?
Yeah, good question. So I had a phenomenal performance coach years ago, Jason Selk. Jason
Hmm.
started out coaching athletes, including being a sports psychologist for the St. Louis Cardinals, the Major League Baseball team. And now he coaches several CEOs in business. And so when I started working with Jason, I told him, I don't want to just be better in business. The principles you're teaching me, which is what you're talking about with overlap, right? And So I said, I don't want to just be better in business, Jason. You're teaching me these principles, and I believe that you can help me be a better husband, that you can help me be a better father, that you can help me be a better Christian. And so I want
Hmm.
to work, I want to use those same principles and have you help me in those areas as well. And so he agreed to do that. It was a fabulous experience. I learned a lot from Jason, helped me a lot. And then I've worked with therapists. I've had a past of childhood trauma and childhood grief, multiple childhood traumas there. And so worked with a lot of therapists doing that. And some people may say, well, that's a therapist. Any good therapist understands they're coaching you. And so my therapists were phenomenal, and it helped me be a better coach in two ways, I think. And one is I know what it means to sit in that client chair, to feel the
Hmm.
nervousness, to feel the doubt. And so because of that, I'm always thinking like, what do they need at this moment?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm also the type of person who's always observing, memorizing, replaying things in my mind.
Yep.
I think it's honestly because I'm on the spectrum, and that's okay. And so that's my part of being on the spectrum for me. And so
Hmm.
all the coaching that was done with me, the techniques, the phrasing, the tone, like I soaked it all in like this sponge, and
Yeah.
I'm able to still replay it in my mind, and it I can see it, all this stuff. And so it helps me really have skills that I couldn't read or learn from a textbook. So I'm honestly so grateful for all of that, for what Jason gave me, for what my therapist gave me, and now what I can turn around and bring to my clients and understand where they're coming from.
No, and I love that so much. And for me, I feel like not every coach is going to have like multiple areas of their life whether they're getting coached themselves, but I do think it's such a helpful area. And I think people are getting coached more than they even realize sometimes too. You know, you're coached when you're growing up.
Absolutely.
If you play a sport, if you learn an instrument, you're getting coached. Like anything that you're learning, you're getting coached in that. It may not, maybe it just look like teaching to you, but there's there. But I found it for myself so important and so pivotal actually to be getting coached myself. I mean, last year I had a health coach. I also had a style coach, and just like looking like having those two different, very different areas, I learned a lot about myself, but I also learned a lot about just coaching and just how to work with people in general. The people I worked with blew me away in terms of making me feel like they were really listening to me and really caring for me. And then that,
Yeah.
hopefully I've been able to convert that into just being a better coach myself. So it's really interesting and good, I think, to be on both sides of that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree fully.
All right, cool. So DonJay, someone graduates your coaching program. What qualities would you say that they possess that help them? Thinking about your story that you shared earlier with the relentlessness, but yeah, what beyond that is someone if someone comes to you, they're going to be extra successful with you if they have these qualities.
Yeah, I would say, obviously we talked about the relentlessness,
Yep.
to be denied. And I would hope once they graduate, they'd continue that curiosity, being forever curious about themselves, of just learning and engaging. I want them to be non-judgmental about their feelings, right? We have this, oh boy, in society, it seems like we talk about, well, that's a bad feeling, that's a good feeling. I want them to be non-judgmental. You're having this feeling. Now ask yourself, like, I'm just curious, where did that come from? Or have I felt that feeling before or in a similar
Hmm.
circumstance, right? So I want them to be able to graduate and take those tools with them. Um, I want them to be able to give themselves grace, give others grace. Grace is something we need so much more of in our society, in our world.
Yes, yes.
And so I want them to be able to do that. And then I really want them to recognize that failures aren't final. That it's just a setback, and it can become this great learning experience. And I think of that in my own life, of how whenever we've fallen on our face, how we can just take that and rather than say failures are final, they define me. No, they don't. It's a setback. Let's learn from it. Let's move forward. So those are the things that I really want my clients to grab a hold of, and when they graduate, go, I've got this.
No, I love that. I love all of those, and some of those haven't even come up yet in these conversations. So that's so good. Those are absolutely amazing qualities that people don't have to be perfect in by any means. Like you don't have
No,
to
no.
fully understand any of those, but if you can gain those from working through and with any kind of coach, you're going to be better off. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're all just imperfect people at the end of the day. So just recognizing that. I mean, we can sit here as coaches. I mean, I'm imperfect. Jordan, you're imperfect. Welcome to the club. We're all charter members.
Yeah, exactly. And I wonder too, like with coaches, like as you know, as we're figuring this out, figuring all this stuff out and being imperfect, I can only imagine we probably are a little bit too hard on ourselves sometimes. And maybe this goes back to what we were talking about before, but just maybe giving ourselves a little bit of grace as coaches and me giving myself grace in those situations that I've had with people that with some rare, but some of my clients where it's been harder to work with and
Sure.
not making it like this big, oh, Jordan is a big failure. It's like, okay, maybe the fit isn't great. Maybe I need to try something different. And yeah, maybe at the end of the day, I need to give myself a little bit grace, a little bit of grace. So I think that's very important to remember.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, life is just a big learning experience.
Yeah.
I've got two daughters and parenting them. There is no book we can open, right? That says, hey, here's the parenting manual and just read through that and you will be the perfect parent. That doesn't happen. So I think that's just whether you're coaching or you're a client of coaching or whatever it is in life, just realize like mistakes, setbacks, whatever you want to call them, like that's just going to be natural. And the key is, can we learn something from it? Doesn't mean that we won't repeat that mistake in a different way, but can we learn something from it? Can we give ourselves grace and
Yeah.
move forward? Because without grace, we're stuck. We're stuck, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Okay, so this is a question kind of like out of left field a little bit, kind of a side question, but I also have been asking it because I know coaches are interested in this and they want to hear from other coaches on how they do things. So curious, for you, what has been successful for you in terms of growing your clientele base or finding more clients or anything like that? I'm just curious what has been most successful for you.
Boy, I would say for me, it's been a three-prong approach. I've written some articles for publications, and I've gotten
Mm-hmm.
some good feedback from that, and some business from that. Being a guest on podcast has been good for me. I picked up a client just last week, and she said, "Hey, you were on this podcast. I heard it on Saturday." And she had the appointment on Monday. So that's been good for me. And then being active on
Amazing.
LinkedIn. Yeah, yeah. So, and then being active on LinkedIn. I've gotten clients from LinkedIn or other connections on LinkedIn that's led to a client. So for me, that's been the three areas.
Yeah, and I love obviously I love the last part because we met on LinkedIn. There's been so much good that has come out of that platform, just being connected with other people. So I definitely can concur with that. Business growth aside, I would say LinkedIn is it's an amazing place to be because if you're doing it and if you're on there and connecting and commenting, you can meet some of the, I mean, I've met some of the most wonderful people in the world on this platform. Like I will stand up and say that. And the overall quality and how amazing the people are has it's just blown me away ever since I started being active on there. Yeah, if you're
Yeah.
not if you're listening to this and not on LinkedIn, hey, maybe check it out.
Yeah, and I would echo that. Maybe we'll be on the next LinkedIn commercial, you and I, but
Yeah, let's do
but
it.
but I would just echo that. Being a coach can be kind of a lonely business. Um, from the
Yeah.
standpoint of, you're not going into a cubicle and there's 10 people and you're interacting. It's usually just you and Zoom or with the clients and things of that nature. And so being active on LinkedIn not only has been good for business, but it's been so good for support. You've been so supportive of my work. I've had other people supportive of my work. And it's just cool to meet people. Like, I'll direct message a person and say, I don't know if we'll work together ever, but if you got 30 minutes, I would just like to know you better
Hmm.
and develop some great friendships from that. So, I mean, it's here again, everything's connected, intertwined. So with LinkedIn, on those days that you may be like, wow, I'm throwing this thing out here on Instagram, and does anybody really care? Which can sometimes feel like
Yeah.
that for me on Instagram and Facebook. On LinkedIn, it seems like people are much more supportive and much more interactive. And that's, I mean, we all need connection. As humans, we were built for connection. And I think LinkedIn is, for me, the one social platform that gives that connection. So with that, yeah, we can send a clip to the CEO of LinkedIn, and maybe you and I will get a little ad credit there or something.
Yeah, I think if we put that as a snippet, we should be doing fine, you know. Come on, LinkedIn, we're singing your
Yeah.
praises here, you know.
But in all seriousness, whether we do or whether we don't, I would just tell people, yeah, LinkedIn is a great platform to grow business.
Yeah, 100%. And I think even if you don't, if you have something against LinkedIn, you don't want to do LinkedIn, that's fine. I would never tell people they have to use
Yeah,
one specific
absolutely.
platform. Like, okay, it worked for us. But regardless of all that, just as you said, we're wired for connection. So be connecting with other people. I worked myself as a writer for most of my years doing this in isolation and not connecting with other writers.
Ooh,
And that was
ooh,
only at my detriment. And as soon as I
yeah.
started connecting with other people, not just writers, but other people that did similar things, wow, my world was open to new possibilities in how to do things and how much to charge in every aspect of what I do, realizing that I was not alone. There's other people that do this, and I don't have to be like other people, but I can learn what other people do so that I can be a little bit different and still be myself. But yeah, but kind of see what people need, and that's been really helpful. Anyway.
Yeah, and I think it's so cool. I remember when I was a financial advisor and I started getting into emotions and feelings with money and all this type of stuff. And that was back in the early days when there wasn't financial psychology wasn't even a term. And I was just grasping at things. And I had this client that was a chiropractor, and I was telling him what I was trying to do. And he says, "Hey, I've got this book. It's on chiropractic care, but the guy kind of talks about some of the things you're mentioning there about how addressing the emotions and the feelings and the anxiety in the room is important." And I was like, "I'll read it." And so,
Hmm.
and I think it's just cool to take those things that you're like, chiropractor and finance. I mean, come on, there's nothing that overlaps, but to find those things and to grasp those nuggets, to me, it's just exciting. And I'm one of those lifelong learner type people. So maybe I get a little too charged up about it. But
Yeah.
but I think that's the thing, is to get things outside of your realm and outside of your field and work with those. And that's why I like my work in domestic abuse. I work with a lot of not only people helping them get out of domestic abuse, but see a path forward and find their
Hmm.
voice, and then work with a group of advocates that also help those people. And so, I teach the advocates things like the 6 stages of change and motivational interviewing, and those are all things from the financial psychology realm and psychology and coaching in general. But I had a person years ago that said, once you learn it, if you really want to master it, teach it to others. And so
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's been a great way to not only help others by teaching it to others, but get better in what I do, and also get other perspectives.
Hmm.
Sometimes you'll get those questions and you're like, based on your question, I want to rethink what I just said. I need to go
Yep.
back and study that more. So yeah, just that whole connection thing has so many levels of benefit for us as humans.
Yeah, 100% agree. And yeah, yeah, so good. Last couple questions here. I always want to make sure people coming on this podcast get a chance to say what's on their heart, say what's on their mind. So I love to ask them, what is your soapbox? And then I also want you to just stand on it and let's talk about it if you have one.
Okay. Yeah. I would say for me, my soapbox would just be that we think that the world keeps spinning faster and we get busier and busier. And we think we have to keep up with this busy, fast-paced world, and we don't. And so I wish we would all slow down and use that time to become curious about ourselves, to learn about ourselves. I think we spend so little time discovering who we are. We spend so much
Hmm.
time learning about our career, the economy, politics, religion, and we spend so little time learning about ourselves. What are our triggers? What causes us to be activated? Why are we the way we are? why am I different than you, Jordan? Why am I different
Hmm.
than my wife? And so I just feel like if we would just say no to the busy world, to spend more time slowing down and in solitude and asking ourselves, who are we? What do we need at this moment? We could really all bring our most beautiful self forward, and the world would be a better place for it. So that's that's my big soapbox, I guess.
I think that's beautiful, and I think it's a great way to end this show. So, DonJay, thank you so much for being here. I do want to ask, where can people find you and find more information about you? I'm guessing
Yeah.
LinkedIn is one of those places, but if there's anywhere else that you want to
Yeah,
add.
so yeah, sure. So I have a website. It is called drumbeatofwealth.com. So drumbeatofwealth.com. They can go in there and they can contact me, learn more about me. If you're on social media, I'm on LinkedIn under my name, DonJay Rice. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram under my business name, which is Drumbeat of Wealth. So yeah, that's where they can find me.
Okay, I love that. Thank you so much. And DonJay, thank you so much for being here today, being on the show. We had some technical difficulties earlier, but it's all good. No one,
Yeah.
yeah, it's totally fine. So thank you so much for spending your time here. And yeah, have an awesome day.
Yeah, you too, Jordan. I had a blast. So thank you for inviting me.
Sure thing. Are you still here listening to this podcast? You're awesome. I got two CTAs for you. Number one, subscribe to this podcast for more. And number two, have you ever thought about writing a book? Contact Jordan. He can help you out. Jordan at jmring.com.